What if I told you there's one habit, just one, that could literally rewire your brain to stop constantly consuming? Not a productivity hack, not another dopamine detox challenge, a real biological switch that flips your brain from consumer mode to creator mode. Sounds dramatic? Good. Because it is. You see, most people today don't even realize they're addicted, not to drugs, not to alcohol, but to consumption, scrolling, watching, clicking, reading, endlessly. And the worst part? We confuse consumption with progress. You read another self-help post and think, I'm improving. You watch a video on discipline and say, tomorrow I'll start. But tomorrow never comes. So what's the habit that forces your brain to stop consuming? It's painfully simple. It's creating before consuming, before you scroll, post, before you read, write, before you watch, act. This one rule, create before you consume, completely changes how your brain works. Let me explain why. First, understand this. Your brain only grows through effort. When you consume, your brain is relaxed, passive, comfortable. It's like eating junk food. Quick pleasure, zero growth. But when you create, when you write, speak, draw, move, or build something, your brain fires up. It connects ideas, solves problems, and learns through doing. Example, you watch 10 videos about fitness, you feel motivated for 5 minutes. But if you just do one push-up before opening YouTube, your brain shifts. It's no longer waiting for dopamine from someone else. It's generating it through action. Creation triggers ownership. You stop being a spectator in your life. You start being the main character. Second, creation kills paralysis. Think about it. When you consume too much, you're overloaded with opinions, advice, and information. You get stuck in maybe I'll try this, or that. Or wait, this new method sounds better. That's analysis paralysis. Death by overthinking. But the moment you create, you bypass that loop. Let's say you're learning guitar. You could watch tutorials for days, or you could pick it up and strum random chords. You'll sound terrible. But you'll learn. Every time you create, you teach your brain that action matters more than perfection. You move forward, imperfectly, but actually. Third, creation builds identity. Your brain loves consistency. Every time you consume, you reinforce the identity of a spectator. But every time you create, even something small, you reinforce the identity of a doer. Post one original thought online. You're now a writer. Record one voice note sharing your ideas. You're now a communicator. Sketch one idea. You're now an artist. You're no longer the person who watches creators. You are one. And once your identity changes, your habits follow automatically. Because here's the truth. You don't need more motivation. You need momentum. And momentum starts the moment you decide to produce instead of consume. Fourth, and this one's huge, creation strengthens self-trust. When you consume, you're trusting others to tell you what's true, what's right, what to do. You outsource your thinking, but when you create, you listen to yourself. You build confidence in your own perspective. You stop needing constant validation because you're busy expressing, experimenting, exploring. That's why most people feel drained after hours of scrolling. Not because they wasted time, but because they betrayed their own voice. Your brain knows it's meant to contribute, not just absorb. So here's the rule again. Create before you consume, even if it's something tiny. Write one sentence before checking social media. Do one push-up before watching fitness videos. Record one short voice note before listening to a podcast. These micro-creations rewire your reward system. You'll start craving creation instead of consumption. And over time, your brain starts to prefer the harder thing because it leads to real satisfaction, not just stimulation. Here's the crazy part. The moment you start creating before consuming, everything changes. Not just your habits, but your perception of time. When you consume all day, time disappears. Hours vanish in a blur of scrolling, swiping, watching. But when you create, time expands. You feel present. You feel alive. You're not a passenger anymore. You're driving. That's the secret most people will never realize. It's not about quitting social media. It's about flipping the order. Creation first, consumption later. You don't need to cut off all distractions. You just need to earn them. You create something, anything, then you consume as a reward, not as a reflex. That one switch makes all the difference. So here's your takeaway. You can't think your way into becoming who you want to be. You have to create your way there. The world already has enough consumers, people waiting for motivation, inspiration, or permission. Be the one who creates, be the one who moves, be the one who leads your brain instead of being led by it. Start small, create before you consume, every single day. Do that, and you'll slowly break free from the endless loop of passive living. You'll feel sharper, more alive, more in control, because your brain doesn't want comfort. It wants challenge. It wants to build. Now, I want you to think about this. What's one thing you can create today before you consume another piece of content? It doesn't matter how small it is. Write it down in the comments. Commit to it. And if this hit you hard, if you know you've been stuck in the consumer trap, then it's time to flip the script. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're ready to take your mind back, because your attention is your most valuable currency. And it's time you start spending it on yourself.